I've always said that the worst thing to happen to anything like that's niche, so like music, TV shows, movies, comics, gaming, every time these things become popular, they lose their soul because people enter these spaces, right, and demand they change. And Game of Thrones is the first thing to come to mind. But I've also watched the Viking series, and towards the end, it started to add it all. Because you find out that these entertainment companies like Hollywood, like Netflix, like they make business decisions. They don't really make artistic decisions. Like they have an art department, but like many things, it's delegated. So you have the people that make the form of the thing, but then the art's delegated to a whole nother group of people. And then there's all these legislations slapped above it, social and political and even legal legislation slapped over TV shows, movies, games. Any digital media has to contend with these things. And this, I believe, at least in gaming, leads to the oversimplification. And what I've heard is that from, the games media and they're speaking directly to like games publishers, game devs, that you shouldn't think of games like genres. So a video game needs a little bit of everything. It needs a little bit of stealth, a little bit of open world, a little bit of, linear, a little bit of horde mode. I'm like, well, that sounds idiotic. But then you look at the new Call of Duty that came out, and it's literally this idea made manifest. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, okay, name any. I was about to say name any piece of entertainment, but no, name anything, period, that thinks like this, right? You know, and this is the thing about us having this higher levels of cognitive thinking. Humans are very preferential creatures. So there are things we will gravitate towards, and things we're not. Again, you can only really consume so much entertainment, consume so many things at a time in your day. Above responsibilities that you can't consume everything, right? You can't interact with everything. So you pick and choose the things you're interested in. For me, it's gaming and entertainment. For other people, maybe other things. And you sort of just plop your ass there. Like, even with V cars, right? Like, people prefer different vehicles based off, one, the situation. So if it's being used for business, or if it's being used for family, or if it's personal use, right? And even just based off the brand, like people will buy vehicles if they're American made, and there are also people that will buy foreign made, high performance vehicles. So it's just an idea that falls apart, but for some reason they believe the games journalists believe they know better than the consumer, right? So the oversimplification of modern games. Let's give this a watch.
Maybe it's because I played Dragon Age the Veilguard before going on my trip. Or perhaps it's because while on my trip I saw a video by Timothy Kane, the creator of Fallout 1, discussing the ways that games simplify the experience for players, whether that be having difficulty options, whether having aim assist on controller, all sorts of features that developers can choose to add to their games in order to enhance that experience for the player. This inspires.
Yeah, and those aren't entirely bad things, but you gotta understand, right? That takes development time, right? I mean, people would like to believe that, oh, I don't care how long a game takes for it to come out. as long as it comes out. But the company don't think that way. The publisher don't think that way. You know, the shareholders don't think that way. They're like, are you releasing this product or not? Are we going to get a return on our investment, right, or not? Like, devs don't think that way. Like, it's something that people are fine with on paper, but in principle, if you take, just any type of project, period, gaming being one facet, but any type of project, it has to be done eventually. And at least in gaming, a lot of time is being put towards things that don't enhance the consumer experience. These are things that, taking Dragon Age Veilguard as an example, like dialogue that adds nothing to the story, nothing to anything. And this is what happens when companies delegate and outsource their things primarily to politically driven and ideologically driven people. The game becomes disjointed. Like you have that, but just if you take all of that away from Veilguard, it's just a basic bitch game.
Inspired in me a discussion for this video that goes beyond what was said in Timothy's video and goes a little bit more into what I'm seeing as a trend in a bunch of our games that we get today. Now, bear in mind, not every single video game does this.
Mainly AAA games do. Yeah. For the AAA multi-billion-dollar companies that are so fucking over-bloated that it's like they have to make the product for everyone because that's the only guaranteed return on investment, and it's also why they need to use popular names and not go into make original titles. I mean, if you're at this point, it's like you're forced to do this.
But I've seen a few perpetrators that rely on this very heavily. So I kind of wanted to talk about the oversimplification of games. Now, before we get started, I want to make one thing very clear. I am 1000% in favor of accessibility options when it comes to allowing for players to literally be able to play the game. So, for example, colorblind mode. If you're colorblind, that is very, very helpful. Having subtitles, if you're hard of hearing, that is also extremely helpful. Having things like a screen reader, if you are blind, obviously very helpful. Even things like allowing for different controllers or key mappings to be changed is very good in case you may have some motor skills.
And the thing I'd add is, and AI could probably do this amazingly, it's, having AI over voice of dialogue, like in most visual novels. I know this is something that is kind of a stretch because I play games like Nike Goddess of Victory, games that are meant for your phone, but I play on my PC. I have it connected to my TV, and I have old man eyes. I can't remember the term because they use all these terms. The optometrist or whatever the fuck they're called use so many terms. Apparently I just have dead skin around my eyelids, and in the morning I'm fine, but at night I can barely fucking see because it's all blurry and my eyes dry out. I think that would be an amazing accessibility option. Now I'm fine with just chugging through, but my point is people are fine with accessibility, right? And it sucks that accessibility is always thrown in to making your games, I'm looking for my hat, I'm sorry, making games just easy and dumbed down. Like, it sucks that these things are lumped under the same umbrella because they're two completely different facets of gaming. But you have the ideological individuals who will probably never pick up the game, but they make demands for the game and their devs, and they put themselves between the game devs and the consumer if this doesn't happen. Like, they think they're this class of human beings that all they do is demand, 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 but they'll never make a game that has their ideology, and if they do, people don't buy it because they know it be garbage. You know it'll be garbage. They know that you know it'll be garbage. So what do? They stuff it in popular games.
That have some difficulty, or maybe you only have one limb to work with. I am 1000% in favor of those things being available for the game so that everybody can have an even playing field when accessing the game and being able to have fun. I'm also not necessarily against difficulty sliders so long as the intended vision for the developer is still left intact as one of those options. And you're
I don't mind that either, but games have evolved so much that people will play the game in accordance to their skill level, right? If they want to play harder, like on Elden Ring is a perfect example. If they want to play harder, they'll play just a no armor bonk run. If they want to play easy, they'll play a glintstone sorceress run. If you're like me and you play everything because you're that high of a level. I'll play one run playing one way, another run playing another way, and I'll eat whatever difficulty comes from it. You know, games have evolved so far, whereas there was no difficulty. Most of it was puzzles, so you had your Mario and your Sonic, and your Rayman and your Spyro. The games have evolved from that to having difficulty in like the between 2000 2015. But nowadays games are just so complex that you don't really need difficulty sliders. All you really need is to put all the tools in the toolbox at the disposal of the player, and they'll pick and choose which tools accommodate their difficulty.
you're able to play in the intended difficulty or even higher if you choose to challenge yourself. I'm not against that if you want to have lower difficulty options. I'm not against having higher difficulty options as well, so long as they are tailored in a way that is actually meaningful. A lot of times when you pick a higher difficulty in a game, all it means is that they're increasing the HP or defense of the enemies, and they're basically doubling the damage, and there's very little change done in terms of the nuance of the AI or how they behave, what tactics they utilize. And so that's
unless it's strategy like Total Warhammer 3, it just slaps on cheats. I mean, clearly the AI has to cheat to overcome the human player. And I mean, because you can use cheese, you can exploit bugs and glitches to overcome them so clearly. But again, using Total Warhammer 3 as the blueprint of this argument, the AI shits out after like turn 200, and you're probably like what, 4, 5, 6 hours into the game by then. So, and it's like, wow, okay, after turn 200, you're either fighting a bulwark of the factions that you know you'll have to deal with, like the High Elves or the Empire of the Dwarves, because they just have the best shit out of all the factions. And I'm sitting here playing Bretonia, my motherfuckers on horses, charging a goddamn dwarven gun line. And we're whooping their ass regardless, because fuck them dwarves. But yeah, most games do this. Like, games that don't take difficulty into consideration are games like Forspoken, where it just raises your health and lowers. It's like they made that game not to really be a game, to be just effectively an easy game simulator where you're supposed to put it on easy. You're supposed to just smack through it. If you put it on hard, you're gonna have a bad time.
That's a little bit of a danger of itself that they can fall into. And so I don't want the kind of difficulty that just makes everything into a sponge. I don't want that. But if we can hopefully make it an interesting and challenging approach while also having other options for people who want to take it easy, I'm not necessarily against that. What I am against, and even though I realize that there are cognitive challenges as well, not just motor skills, not just visual skills, not just auditive skills, that can be impacted. I am very much against the dumbing down of the experience to the point where your hand is being held the entire way, and it almost feels patronizing in a way. Now, there are many examples for this, but Dragon Age the Veilguard is the most recent one that I have in my mind, so we're going to be discussing it through that lens.
Which Final Fantasy was it where it was literally it just you can press something and it will just play the game for you. I mean, it's literally just the game playing itself. And I play like Zaneless Zone Zero, and it has like auto chains and all that, you know, auto battlers, and also something. Nikkei Gods of Victory has the same thing, but again, the point of Nikkei is it's an ass jiggle simulator, and you'll be fighting so many battles that after a while, you just fucking obliterate everything. But Warframe, in Warframe's case, if you have so many, like, if you're such a high skill level with your Warframes, it becomes one of the easiest games you've ever played in your life. But you have to work towards that. You have to farm out Warframes, farm out mods, farm out weapons, farm out your companions. You know, you have to put the formas in, then re-level it back up just to put on your better mods, right? Is there any other situation where the game literally just plays itself? Look, people who want to play games will play the fucking game regardless of their limitations. Like it's a hobby, right? You know, you bought the game, it's not going anywhere. It's not like if you don't play the game within this allotted amount of time, it fucking disintegrates like your Thanos snapped it. Like people will play games despite their limitations. And I think there's this one gamer named Broly Legs who played like Street Fighter with like his mouth and like his chin and stuff. And not only does he play the game, he tops, as in he is actually good at playing the game. He is in the highest ranking people of playing Street Fighter. Is it Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? Because I know there was a blind gamer who played Mortal Kombat, and he played Cyrex because, you know, if you're on one side of the screen and he uses attack, and based off when it explodes, he can tell just by the sound alone where the player is, right? The only person that beat him was someone that mirror matched him. Fucking asshole. But yeah, people will play games and enjoy the hobby despite their limitations. Nothing needs to change. And there are so many different types of games out there that you can enjoy. Like, you shouldn't demand Elden Ring has an easy mode, right? Just play another game that accommodates you.
That game makes sure that you're able to beat the game no matter what. And I think this is where we land on a point where I'm not that big of a fan. You see, for example, you might get a quest, and I'm making this as an example. This is not an actual quest in the game, but let's say it tells you, you must find the vendor that sells fish. And then you get a quest log that marks it in the top right hand corner. Find the NPC that has the fish. And then you get a marker on your screen that follows you everywhere you go so that you don't lose your way, so that you know which way you're supposed to go in order to find that NPC. And then the people, you might get even a cinematic for that quest where they discuss the importance of being able to find a fish vendor. And then on the way, even your companions might be like, hey, don't forget about the NPC that's to the left. The fish vendor, we must go to him. And then when you're up against him, you might have a giant sign saying fish vendor. And then on top of that, there's like all of these little cues with color showing you where the NPC is. And then they say, here's the NPC vendor. Here's the fish guy. Like, they make it so obvious that even if...
Because the game's made for game journalists. It's not made for gamers. It's not made for people who play games. And people who play games expect a level of difficulty. Like, they don't expect Elden Ring levels of difficulty every time, but you expect to have to interact with the thing, to intelligently interact with the medium to garner some level of enjoyment. Otherwise, you'll just, I don't know, watch a movie or watch a TV show. People who play games understand they need to interact with the game in order to play it, right? And again, I hate the fact that people keep asking for games to play themselves and calling it accessibility. Like, you're talking something completely different. You're just trying to lump it into something that everyone agrees with to just push a point that nobody but you cares about. And then I guess the people that think like you should care about that same thing, but the majority of them don't even play games. They just weave their way into this gaming space and demand everyone else change just to fit their childish ass mentality when it comes to games, right? Like, and I hate, this is going to be a long point. I hate this fact that people think kids are fucking stupid. Like, when I was a child, I was playing like Age of Wonders 1, right? I was playing Empire Earth, strategy games where you will lose. You will get your ass beat. The point of the game is to figure out how not to get your ass beat. Right? And I think I was better at playing these difficult games when I was younger than now that I'm older, right? Because obviously when you're younger, you interact with things completely differently. Like, now that you're old, it's like, oh, well, I have other things to do. But this idea of making games for children where they play themselves it's retarded. I mean, I fail to see any other way to describe it. Like, while we were playing Halo, all the Halos on Legendary difficulty, we had die in one fucking hit. Like, I mean, and we were young. But now you have grown ass adults demanding games be made for kids. Their games be made for kids, and if you don't agree with them, they attack you.
And pardon my words, even if you had temperature room IQ, you would be face palming at how easy and how repetitive and how dumbed down the experience is.
Kids would be like, what is this bullshit? Why does it keep telling me this? Like, fuck out my face. How do I get rid of this option to tell me where to go? It's like,
let's not even talk about the puzzles, because the puzzles aren't even puzzles in themselves. You pick up a rock and you put it into the slot. They're basically right next to each other. There's no way that you can miss it. And I feel like in that regard, it goes beyond accessibility and it goes into a territory which, for me, I would consider insulting. If I had a cognitive disability, I would find it very insulting that they dumbed it down so much to the point where they're just like pointing in the direction of where you have to go. Like, the only thing that's missing is if you had safety rails next to you on either side and you can't go anywhere but the place where the quest tells you to go. That would be.
And most people understand this, right? But people that are made the controls of this game, and people that are advocating for this, like, it's purely ideological. Like, it's hard to really understand if they actually mean this or not, or if this is the ideological Trojan horse they're using to impose on other people. And this is why people that try to impose their ideology are difficult to fucking deal with, because they could 100% believe they're doing the right thing while at the same time ruining the thing for everybody else, for ruining games for people that the majority that play games. But no, they think they're doing the right thing because it's an ideological pillar they're standing on. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, things that are reasonable are again reasonable, but this isn't reasonable. This is the above all the other problems that Dragon Age Veilguard has. This is just one drop in the massive ocean of issues the game has. At the end of the day, it's just a boring, vapid game. Like, why would you play this over? Well, okay, I do. We shouldn't compare. Like, this game, off its own merit, is just it adds nothing. It achieves nothing, and it's gonna fail, and no one will remember it in the next 5 years. No one's gonna play this game.
Be like the last straw, the last measure that this game would have to have. And I see that over and over again, and I think it's insulting because I think what players really want is the opportunity to be able to play at an even playing field regardless of what disability they might have, and without it being insulting to the condition that they have, without it being demeaning, to be treated like an actual person. You see,
I kind of disagree with that. I think people, because again, you are interacting with the game by yourself, right? It is simply between you and the game. Like, maybe you play with friends, maybe you don't. That's fine. But again, if you have the controller, it's your interaction. And even if you know you're going to have a harder interaction than other people, I mean, I just don't think people think that far into it when it comes to video games. Like, if you have a disability, I just don't think people think that far into it. I mean, other people may think about it, but I don't know. And again, I don't want to speak on behalf of disabled people, but I I feel like the last thing they think about is, oh, I want to play this game the same way as some random bloke that I don't know that doesn't interact with me, like on the same playing field as him. I don't know. I don't think that's anything I would think of. Again, if people want to play the game, they're going to do that, and if people don't, they don't. Like, we came from a time where if you played games, they were for children, right? Where there was social stigma against playing games. And now games are popular. Right? But when there was that social stigma, motherfuckers still played the game. Right? You're like, okay, fine, whatever. You find other people that played game, you hang around them, and you're like, five smelly motherfuckers in your mom's basement playing Halo, having a good time, drinking your Mountain Dew and eating your Cheetos. And with no care in the fucking world. And I think that's the experience people want. But for some reason, everybody else who don't play the game wants to change the experience of those five motherfuckers. And that's what I don't understand.
you may not know this because I'm just dead and I'm just a skeleton, but I have trouble hearing things. I mean, I don't have any ear holes, right? And I have difficulty hearing, so things like subtitles are very important for me.
Yeah.
And so I understand that. But see, having subtitles doesn't diminish from the experience that I'm having as a gamer. And that's ultimately what I'm trying to get at here with this video, is having the tools available so people can literally play the game and play at an even playing field, I think is fine. Going to the point where you're talking down to the player, where you're dumbing it down, where the experience is so watered down that everybody suffers because of it, I don't like that. And there are other examples. For example, Alan Wake 2, if you go to the accessibility options beyond what I just mentioned, it will have things like infinite health, so you can't die, infinite ammo, so you never run out of ammo, you can one-shot kill enemies, and all these things I wouldn't consider accessibility. Those are cheats. Those are just literal cheats.
I mean, older games had this too, right? But you had to play through the game and find the cheat. I think Celico had something like this. I mean, most of it's like people customizing their own experience is fine, but to my knowledge, Alan Wake is a walking simulator, right? So, and it cost $400 million to make. So they put $400 million to make in a game. We can effectively just not play the game, like auto complete QTEs. I think the QTEs again is the one interactive thing above you just walking. And now they have an option that says, oh, you don't have to even do that. Like, $400 million put into a walking simulator where you don't even have to play the fucking game. I mean, to a gamer like me, that's mental.
And I think, again, those options are insulting to players. They may have a difficulty because all they want, in my opinion, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking for you, but is an option to play the game at the same level or close to the same level as somebody who may not have that difficulty. And I think we're going so far and above and beyond in this term where we end up watering down the quality of our product so that everybody can quote unquote access it. And we go into the realm of changing things that don't actually need changing or that don't need taking a look into. And it even impacts the dialogue, it impacts the quality of the writing, it impacts the story. And so that's where it becomes a problem and why I think it's something that we should discuss more and more. To wrap up this video though, I want to let you know a little bit about what you can expect for this channel. I want to start off by saying thank you so much to everybody that supported this. In 2 videos, we actually went from 22 subscribers to 154 as of the recording of this video, and I couldn't be happier. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much. I was away on a very important trip. I took everything with me. I took the microphone, you know, my suits, everything. Unfortunately, the laptop that I had available was not able to record properly, let alone edit. And so I was forced to wait until my return to basically do every idea, including this video, for you guys in rapid succession. I am going to be releasing them in cadence regardless, but I'm basically recording everything in one go. And so you'll forgive me for that, for having to wait, but welcome everybody. I will like to remind you, we do also have a community tab on our YouTube channel. I welcome you to check that out every now and then, because when there's an important announcement or a delay or anything of that nature, I will make sure to let you guys know through the community tab rather than do a whole video, because usually the algorithm will suppress it and you won't get to see it. On top of that, and I wanted to let you know what you can expect from this channel. I will be making videos mostly about gaming. Sometimes there'll be discussions, sometimes there'll be a video essay, sometimes we'll be reviewing a game, sometimes I'll be giving you my early first impressions, like with Dragon Age the Veilguard. Sometimes we'll be tackling, you know, discussions of accessibility, like this video. Sometimes we'll be having a little bit of fun. Every now and then, I might do something that kind of goes off the rails a little bit. So, for example, I might be working on a parody song that I will let you know about in the future, or I might talk about a movie that really impacted me, and those videos will deviate a little bit, but rest assured that the content that you subscribe for and you signed up for and you enjoy will still be here. So if every now and then you see a video that's a little bit off on the other end, just keep in mind that I'm doing that for my creative outlet and because I really want to enjoy this process. I want this channel to succeed, but I do not want that to be at the cost of my own enjoyment. We are at an era now where people just worry about SEO scores and maximizing their click-through rate. That is not what I want for this channel. I want to return to that age of YouTube when it first started, where people had fun making, you know, videos. Where people
Yeah, good luck with that, because YouTube doesn't want to do that. And I think, ooh, this looks kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, you can watch his video. and I recommend it. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's always that thing where it's like if you want something in a game, you can just make it yourself. But people don't want to do that. Again, the point is to worm your way in a company, you know, to make demands, make changes, and enforce those demands and changes on everybody else. And again, this is an ideological battle. I know Asmongold talked about this. He got a lot more subscribers now. Hey, man, Asmongold, if you want to, I don't know, look at my videos, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, blessed by Asmongold himself. Welcome to the club, brother. Yeah, I'm blessed by the Roach King. Love how level-headed and normal this monster's talking to me is. The Lynch King sends his regards. Be blessed by the algorithm, brother. Rochelle. This is the most eloquent and well-mannered skeleton I've ever seen in my life. Cheers to you growing channel, man. YouTube deserves more content creators like yours. On God, they do. I can't really lie because I'm on a separate browser. Temperature room IQ is quality content. Nice video. Well, someone is going to get tons of subs right now. Huge fan of your style. I really noticed that when I played Spider-Man game, the first one, combat was so extremely arcadified that it felt like just reaction click. For example, grenades, they explode after 5 seconds. But if you pick them up and throw them at the enemies, their timer stops and they explode when they reach your enemies, and they will always reach their target like a homing missile. Try doing things your own way. Can't have that. If you try to stealthy take out a warehouse right after taking out the last guy, second wave enters the room and everyone knows where you are for no reason. Have a fight now. The skill ceiling was so low. It just felt unrewarding. I completed the game on 100% on the highest difficulty, probably because it was in quite expensive and fun. But I sure as hell wouldn't want to play this game again. I can only imagine how great it would feel if there wouldn't be all those side wheels. Yeah, I mean, play Batman, what was it, Arkham City? Arkham Knight? Well, Arkham something, yeah. Not, what is it? Is it Arkham Knight? The older Batman game where if you got shot twice, you were dead. So you had to actually be creative when taking motherfuckers down. I don't even know if you can even play the first Assassin's Creed, but that was the same thing. But anyway, I mean, we're going to keep seeing AAA games become this because you gotta understand these companies, they make business decisions. They make decisions based off ideological groups, based off, you know, of things outside of what the consumer wants. And because of that, you'll just get more and more of this happening. And it sucks, but, I mean, we have a stacked list of actual decent games coming out, so, hey, just play the games you want to play. Put your money and your time where you'll want the change to happen. That's all I gotta say. Peace.